Vitahavya has been contemplating the nature of the senses and the mind. Vitahavya continued to contemplate. O senses, I feel that you have all been dispelled by the light of my admonitions, for you are born of the darkness of ignorance. The senses are notional. Obviously, from a scientific point of view, this isn't the case. The scientific point of view and also the common sense point of view are simply 2 points of view, and they both got their merits. They've got a lot of merits. But we need to get them into perspective. There are different modes of being, different modes of understanding. And one mode of understanding, when we really look into it, in fact even from a scientific point of view, when we really look into it, the sensory theory of cognition, of perception, is a very inadequate one. There doesn't actually seem to be a proper theory of perception. Anyway, I've looked into this before, I've explored this before. What comes first is the experiencing, and then we come up with our theories of perception. So when we really look into it, we can forget about the senses, and we can forget about the mind. We can bypass notions of the senses, bypass notions of the mind. In fact, we bypass all notions. O mind, surely your emergence as an appearance is for your own grief. So although these notions can have their practical uses, they also ultimately lead to grief. See how when you exist, countless beings get deluded and they enter into this ocean of sorrow with all its prosperity and adversity, illness, old age and death. How greed gnaws at all the good qualities and destroys them. How lust or desire distracts and dissipates their energy. It dissipates our sense of being, our sense of who we ultimately are. O mind, when you cease to be, when we've realised the true nature of the mind, and when we've bypassed it, all the good and noble qualities blossom. There is peace and purity of heart. People do not fall into doubt and error. There is friendship which promotes the happiness of all. Worries and anxieties dry up. The darkness of ignorance is dispelled. The inner light shines brightly. Mental distraction and distress cease, just as when the wind ceases to agitate its surface, the ocean becomes calm. There arises self-knowledge within, and the realization of truth puts an end to the perception of the world delusion. Puts an end to the tendency to get caught up in the world delusion. Infinite consciousness alone shines. There is an experience of bliss not granted to the ignorant who are full of desires. We've gone beyond negativity at this point. Even as new shoots may arise from burnt leaves, a new life may emerge from this. However, he who would avoid entanglement in delusion once again rests in self-knowledge constantly. So this is the important point, that it is possible to get entangled in illusion once again. So self-effort, self-enquiry is ongoing, or self-knowledge, rests in self-knowledge constantly. Such are the fruits of your absence, O mind, and there are countless others. O mind, you are the support of all our hopes and desires. When you cease to be, all these hopes and desires cease. You can now choose either to be one with the reality, or to cease to be an independent entity. So we're disengaging from the mind, we bypass the mind, we realise our essential awareness and we rest in that. Your existence as identical with the self and non-different from it is conducive to happiness, O mind. Hence be firmly rooted in the realisation of your non-existence. Surely it is foolish to neglect happiness. It's like the ripple on the surface of water, identifying with itself rather than with its nature as the water, the whole pond or ocean of water. If you exist as the inner being or consciousness, who will wish for your non-existence? But you are not a real entity, hence your happiness is delusion. You are not real. You came into being through ignorance and delusion, but now through inquiry into your nature and that of the senses and self, you have once again ceased to be. The mind is nothing more except the sum total of all our notions and our attachment and involvement with these notions. You exist as long as one does not undertake this inquiry. When the spirit of inquiry arises, there is total equanimity or homogeneity. We see everything as just experiencing, and we experience everything as experiencing. We're not getting caught up with one aspect of the experiencing over another aspect. So we can say it's not that the experience is homogeneous, but our reaction to it, our involvement with it, is homogeneous, if you like, but equanimity is the better term here. You were born of the ignorance which is the absence of wisdom and discrimination. When this wisdom arises, you cease to be. Hence I salute wisdom. O mind, you are awakened by many means. Now that you have lost the false characteristic of a mind, you exist as the Supreme Being or the infinite consciousness, free from all limitation and conditioning. Pure essential awareness. That which arose in ignorance perishes in wisdom. In spite of yourself, O good mind, this inquiry has arisen in you. This is surely for the attainment of bliss. We always have this carrot of bliss, don't we? But it's a sense of, it's this kind of bliss that you get after a long, arduous journey of carrying a heavy weight. You drop the burden and you sit down and put your feet up. There is indeed no mind, no mind. The self alone exists. It alone is. There is naught else. I am that self. Hence there is naught other than me in the universe. I am the infinite consciousness whose kinetic state alone appears as the universe. So this me that alone is nothing to do with the individual psyche or the individual personality. It's the one self. It's the one self in which there is no other.